You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you may not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
On a quiet evening in October of 2019, a devoted mother vanished from her home in Richmond, Kentucky. Her husband told police she'd left, as she sometimes did. When she never comes home, her adult son and ex-husband alert police that something isn't right. And what followed was a nightmare that shattered a family and exposed the reality hiding behind the closed doors of a seemingly ordinary home. This is a story of a woman who had plans to escape her marriage and the man who made sure she never would. This is Ella Jackson, Blood, Betrayal, and Secrets. Hey y'all, I'm Chris Calvert.
And I'm her husband, Rob Potter. Welcome to Hitched to Homicide.
For better or worse.
Till death do us part.
Welcome back, everybody.
Yes, welcome. And for our friends over there in New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Yep. Hi, Aramai. Hi, Aramai. Hi, Aramai. There you go.
Welcome, New Zealand. We have listeners in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Wherever you're listening, be sure to like, rate, and review Hitched to Homicide and tell your friends about us. Go out there and share, because sharing is caring, and caring is what, honey?
It's love.
Caring is love. And if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button below. If you want true crime with us all the time, join the In-Laws and Outlaws. All you got to do is go to H2H. Nope, all you got to do is go to Facebook first.
Yeah.
Go to Facebook, type in H2H In-Laws and Outlaws. Answer a couple questions. You are in.
Yes.
Go join.
Yes.
I'm trying to get through everything quick today. You can find us on Instagram at Hitched to Homicide or on X at H2H_podcast. We also have a Buy Me a Coffee link if you want to send Rob some coffee.
Yes.
And you can also send us a message or a text. It's at the bottom of the show notes where it says send Chris and Rob a text or a message.
Do it.
We are doing a couple of Kentucky cases over the next couple of weeks, and this one is just down the highway a bit in Richmond, Kentucky.
Oh.
It's where our Buc-ee's is located. We were talking about Buc-ee's with all the people in America for the World Cup. I was sad that the United States lost their match.
I know.
But we're going to Richmond, Kentucky. I'm very proud of my homeland, the motherland, Kentucky. Before we get started, let me thank some sources. The Lexington Herald-Leader, the Richmond Register, the Washington Post, and NBC's Dateline, among others. I'll have absolutely every single source that I used. It'll all be listed in the show notes.
Great. All right. Well, you ready?
I am.
Well, let's do it.
Eleonora Gutiva, she goes by Ella, is born around 1972, and she grew up in her hometown of Ordizhniki City, Russia.
One of those Russian cities over there.
It's this city right here.
Folks, we're not even going to try to pronounce it.
I'm not even going to try. I'm just going to do my best.
There you go.
As a young girl, she wanted to enroll at the Moscow Medical Institute and become a specialist in manual therapy and acupuncture. And manual therapy is a specialized subset of physical therapy that is strictly hands-on, like using techniques on trigger points, like trigger point therapy and joint mobilization.
Okay.
She's very beautiful and described herself as shy and kind-hearted. Other people would just say that she is extremely kind, very friendly.
Okay.
When Ella is 17, she wins a beauty pageant, and this was kind of controversial because it defied the societal norms of young women in Russia at the time, because traditional roles for young women was more like state-approved femininity. It's like the commercial with the runway where all the women are wearing a gray dress, and it's day wear and it's evening wear.
The evening there.
In the Soviet Union. It's an old Wendy's commercial. But I think back in Russia, when she was 17, it was like, you're just really supposed to marry and take care of your husband.
Okay, so this was like the late 80s, I guess.
Somewhere in there.
All right. Yeah.
She will marry and have a son, Philip. But by 2003, Ella is fleeing an abusive marriage, and she divorces her husband in Russia or the Ukraine. It's kind of hard for me to tell which country she's coming from.
Right.
But this is when she meets an American man in the Ukraine named Jason Hans. Jason is finishing his PhD at the University of Missouri, and I don't know if he's there to lecture or he's a fan of the Ukraine, but he will return to lecture there in 2010. When Jason finishes his PhD in 2004, he and Ella marry, and Jason takes a position at the University of Kentucky with the School of Family Studies,
Really?
which is now the Martin Gatton College of Agriculture, Food, and Environment.
Wow.
They like shoved it all in there together. He's an assistant professor. He's eventually going to be the department chair and the director of graduate studies. Now, there's nothing about how Ella and Jason meet in 2003, and I only know that he lectured in the Ukraine because I found the dates Jason was there because the University of Kentucky was bragging on him in 2010 in the Lexington newspaper.
Okay.
But these two meet and fall in love, and Jason brings Ella to the United States, and in particular, Lexington, Kentucky.
There you go.
My hometown.
Yeah.
And Ella isn't Jason's first wife either. He married a woman named Irina that he had met at the University of Missouri at Columbia, where she got her undergrad and graduate degree in art history. And it's while she's completing her master's that she meets Jason Hans. And these two marry. Her name is Irina. They marry, but in October of 2002, Irina has gone to Washington, D.C. for a Smithsonian Institution internship because she's an art history person.
Sure.
On Saturday, October 12th, 2002, after walking home from the Branch Avenue metro station in Suitland, Maryland, she is shot in the head and left on the side of the road.
Oh, wow.
Irina was also from Odessa, Ukraine. So perhaps, you know, Jason's doing something in Odessa at the university there.
Right.
Because he did go there quite a lot. But he's a young man when his first wife is murdered. And by the way, at first, they believed that Irina was a victim of the freeway killers who were on the loose at the time in the area. We did a podcast on them a while back. But Ella is now Ella Hans, and I believe Jason adopted Ella's son Philip because his name now is Philip Hans.
Okay.
But she brings her little boy with her to the United States. And Ella and Jason's marriage only lasts about 5 years. These two divorce, but they co-parent Philip, and they remain very close and very good friends. She would keep him close to her, and she would stay in close contact with him, even though they're no longer married. They are really, really good friends. It's kind of like the divorce. I think that if there was a perfect divorce, I think it would be theirs.
Okay.
It's after this divorce that happened around 2010. And again, there aren't really exact dates in any of the sources. But after her divorce from Jason, Ella meets another college professor, Glenn Jackson. Now, there's not a lot of information out there about Glenn either, although I know his parents are Jean Diebold and John Newton Jackson of Ohio. So I think Glenn is from Ohio, and I believe that legally he used both his mother and his father's last names, Diebold-Jackson.
He's a hyphen.
He's a hyphen. And I only know this because when I start searching through old newspapers, I put in names and it gives me everything. I don't just ask for like crimes or particular things. I want to see as much as I can.
Sure.
And they sell some property. She and Glenn sell some property together, and the last name is Diebold-Jackson.
Okay.
She's older than he is by about 8 years, but again, she's beautiful and she does not look her age. Those Russian genes must have something special in them that those of us who probably have Scandinavian backgrounds or just old English skin. But she is gorgeous. Ella and Glenn marry, and by February of 2014, these two have a baby, a boy. They name him Alex, and Alex is actually born in Stanford, Kentucky. Now, after this, Glenn takes a job as a senior lecturer at Eastern Kentucky University in Richmond, Kentucky, where he taught English and honors rhetoric. And, buddy, let me tell you, he's really good at the rhetoric.
What's honors rhetoric?
It's the study of how people use language, symbols, arguments, and other means to influence, inform, motivate, or persuade audiences. Did you see how I had that handy? Because I knew you were going to ask. It's the art and study of effective communication and persuasion. And again, buddy, he likes the rhetoric.
Yeah, I actually took a course, something like that, when I was going to UC. And it was basically how to argue effectively.
Well, you're going to see how this man uses this technique.
All right.
So Ella now has two boys, one Philip, who is now 23 years old, and a new baby, Alex. Now, my guess is that Eastern Kentucky University has no information on when he began employment there, but by the fall of 2019, Glenn is working at EKU and little Alex is starting kindergarten. By the way, it's called Eastern Kentucky University. It's not really in Eastern Kentucky. It is east of Central Kentucky.
Yeah.
But not by that much. Richmond, Kentucky is not that far away from Lexington.
Well, they were tired that day when they were trying to come up with a name. And
Yeah, I mean, Harlan is Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah.
Pikeville is Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah.
Richmond, not so much Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah.
But Alex is starting kindergarten. Now, she's still very close with her son, Philip. She speaks with him every day. And Philip actually lived with Ella and Glenn and Alex. She's still close with her family, who's in Russia and the Ukraine. But Philip's going to move out for a couple months in the early fall of 2019. And things aren't going great between Glenn and Ella. He's abusive. And remember, her first husband is abusive.
Right.
And I don't think Ella was willing to take anything off of Glenn. And when he's being abusive, she starts to secretly record him when they are fighting. She tells him that he's a monster, that he's physically and mentally abusive to her. She asks him about staying in a hotel with a woman after a conference. She believes that he's being unfaithful to her.
Okay.
She tells her son, Philip, look it, I'm paraphrasing, look it, if anything happens to me, if I go missing or if I mysteriously die, just know he did it. Glenn did it.
Wow.
Ella also keeps a journal, like a notebook, and she keeps it hidden somewhere in the bedroom. And in this journal, she calls Glenn a pathological liar, a sociopath, and a narcissist, all in one day's entry.
How's she really feel?
Yeah. She tells her friends and family in the Ukraine that Glenn is a horrible person. She Skypes with them on a regular basis. And in a fight with Glenn that she records, she tells him that she's going to divorce him. She will divorce him. I will divorce you. It's almost like, try me.
Yeah.
I will divorce you.
Sure.
And by October of 2019, Ella is wanting to divorce him. She meets with a domestic violence advocate. And by the week of October 14th, Ella has spoken with a divorce attorney. Now on Sunday, October 20th, Ella speaks with her family via Skype for about an hour and 45 minutes. That's the last time anyone will hear from Ella. The next day, later into the evening, a 911 call comes into the Richmond, Kentucky dispatch. It's Glenn Jackson. He tells 911 that he's not worried about his wife, but that she'd left and that she does this. And she would leave for these extended periods of time. He basically tells them that he's not worried that she leaves all the time, but he had seen on television that the first few days are important. But he doesn't really want to report her missing. He's saying that it's really more of a case of abandonment. He's basically telling the police that Ella has abandoned their 5-year-old son as well.
So basically, the dispatcher sitting on the other side going, okay.
And so why are you calling?
Yeah. Thanks for letting us know.
Yeah.
We'll catch up with you later.
This man talks in circles, rhetoric, the rhetoric,
Yeah,
right?
Right.
The Richmond Police Department sends out an officer on patrol to speak with Glenn. It's just standard procedure. And the patrol officer tells him, look, adults can leave whenever they want. If they're over 18, they can walk out the door, and there's not really a whole lot we can do about it.
Sure.
But the next day, Philip Hans, Ella's son, who is now in his late 20s, calls 911 to say he wants a welfare check made on his mother. And Detective Jason Friend of the Richmond Police Department shows up to Ella and Glenn's home on Westwood Drive in Richmond.
You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you may not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
And when he does, he finds that the lights are on and a television is on and the back door is open. It's ajar. And since the door's open and Philip had reported to police that he believed that his mother could be in danger, Detective Friend goes inside. Now, there weren't any signs of a struggle and the house was empty.
Yeah, so nothing was disturbed or it looked totally normal.
Yeah, lights are on, nobody's home, right?
Okay, all right.
So they want to talk to Glenn.
Right.
And the police track him down with the help of the Eastern Kentucky University Police. They're like, is he in his office? Do you see his car anywhere? Tell him he needs to get his butt home.
Right.
Now, when the police show up, Philip Hans shows up there as well. And he shows up while they're still looking for Glenn. And Detective Friend, when Glenn does arrive, he keeps these two men separated. He wants to talk with them individually. By the way, this Detective Friend, sharp guy. I like him a lot.
Right.
I like him a lot. So Glenn comes back to his house. He speaks with the police again. This time he tells the story that Ella had left numerous times before and that she'd convinced him and little Alex to take the dog for a walk. For them to take the dog for a walk and go to the dog park on the night she disappeared. He's saying she's trying to get rid of us so she could leave. But there's a problem with that idea because Ella's purse, her phone, and her car are all still at home and sitting in the driveway.
Right.
And Glenn's like, yeah, I know. They only, the thing with her was that the only thing she took with her was a key to our lake house in Monticello. And Monticello is about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes away from Richmond. By the way, it's spelled like Monticello. We call it Monticello in Kentucky.
Just
Welcome
like
to Kentucky.
Versailles, Kentucky.
Just like Versailles, when it's spelled just like Versailles.
Or Lima, Ohio.
Or Lima, Ohio. Now, when Philip speaks with Detective Friend, he tells him his mother would never, she would never leave without Alex, his little brother.
Right.
And then he tells Friend that his mother's phone has been turned off. And then suddenly at 6:30 on this day that he's called for the welfare check, it turned back on. Then he also tells Detective Friend that his mother was afraid of Glenn and that if anything ever happened to her, to look no further than her husband. They also interviewed Jason Hans that night because, after all, he's Philip's father, and he shows up.
Right.
And he tells Detective Friend who he is and that he's Ella's ex-husband. And when Glenn sees Jason there, her ex-husband, he doesn't like it. I think he's very jealous of the relationship that Ella shared with her ex-husband, Jason.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah, again, it's a model relationship for
Right.
what all divorces should look like.
Sure.
But Glenn tells Detective Friend that Ella had been acting strange on October 19th and 20th before she left. He tells Detective Friend that on the 20th, he had heard Ella talking with her mother and sister in Russian, and he says he heard the words hotel, passport, airport, Uber, and Lyft. Now, it's actually her ex-sister-in-law she was speaking with along with her mother that day. And according to her, there was no talk of any of those things. And the entire conversation was in Russian. And she doesn't even speak English. This is all done through an interpreter.
Right.
Her ex-sister-in-law doesn't speak English. So all of this they're gleaning this through an interpreter.
Sure.
So she's a little bit confused because she's like, Glenn doesn't know these words and we never spoke in English. It was all in Russian.
Right.
So the Richmond police start looking into all of the men in Ella's life, with the exception of her 5-year-old son. They do background checks on her son, Philip. Why had he moved out? Her ex-husband. Why was he still so close to Ella? And Glenn, because intimate partners are the leading cause of murder for women in the United States. Can you believe that?
Amazing.
According to the National Crime Information Center and the Bureau of Justice Statistics. And also according to the CDC's National Violent Death Reporting System, 30 to 35% of female homicides are committed by a current or former intimate partner, and women are at the highest risk when they are leaving an abusive partner. And what was Ella doing?
She was leaving.
She was going to leave him.
Yeah.
The next day, all 3 of these men are brought into the Richmond police station, Philip, Jason, and Glenn. And as I said, they did background checks on all 3. And what they discover is that Jason's first wife was murdered, and it was still an unsolved case. Now, both Jason and Philip have alibis, by the way, for the time when Glenn says Ella runs off.
Right.
But Philip and Jason both tell Detective Friend that Ella was afraid of Glenn and said, again, look, if anything happens to me, Glenn's going to be the reason why. And they both tell police in separate rooms and in interviews that Glenn was abusive to Ella. Now, when Detective Friend speaks to Glenn, he denied there was ever any physical violence in his relationship with Ella. Of course, Glenn is saying this not knowing that they're soon going to discover that Ella met with a domestic violence victims advocate and called a divorce attorney. And not only that, she's been secretly taping their arguments.
Wow.
Also, as Detective Friend is asking Glenn questions, he tells him, look, you're not under arrest. You can leave anytime. We're just chit-chatting. But Glenn stays for 6 hours.
Wow.
6 hours in this tiny little interrogation room. He tells Detective Friend that maybe Ella went to Russia to be with her mother. When he was asked if there was infidelity in the marriage, could she have run away with a man? Was she upset that you were fooling around with another woman? Well, no, that wasn't it, although he wouldn't be surprised if something was going on between Ella and Jason, who, by the way, has a new wife of his own. But he spends 6 hours talking in circles. He never answers a single question that Detective Friend asks him. And according to Detective Friend's interview on Dateline NBC, Glenn's the kind of guy who thinks he's the smartest person in the room.
Of course he does.
And Detective Friend just let him think that. He just let him talk and talk and talk in circles for 6 hours.
Wow.
Now, on October 25th, Detective Friend canvassed the neighborhood where Glenn and Ella lived, and he found a home with surveillance cameras in the area. And their footage confirmed that Ella had walked her dog to the park that afternoon on October 20th, and Glenn walked the dog that night. But Glenn went to the dog park way later than he told police, and he didn't stay there as long as he said he had. So it's not really adding up, right? He said he was there at 6:15,
Okay.
and that's what he thinks she left. But the surveillance cameras show that it was much, much later after that.
Gotcha.
And they also discovered that there were 3 reports of gunfire heard on the night Glenn says Ella left him.
Really?
Now, because Ella told her son and ex-husband she was scared of Glenn, the Richmond police get a search warrant. And they bring Glenn back in again to chat with him. And while he's out of the house, they execute their search warrant on October 29th. And while they're in the house, they take her phone. They find her journal. It's a notebook tucked away, hidden in the bedroom. There are 10 investigators and a cadaver dog in the home during the search warrant.
Wow.
And the police then searched Glenn's car, a RAV4, and they see what they think is dried blood in the trunk. They use some luminol on the spot, and then they see an approximately 2-foot stain that someone had tried to bleach out.
Yeah.
But the luminol showed the stain, and it showed how it ran up against a crevice in the trunk. And when they took the trunk apart, they found that blood had pooled behind this crevice. And all of that information is going off for DNA testing.
Wow.
Now, they also find a knife in the trunk that reacted to the luminol as well. I don't know what he used the knife for or how he used the knife, but
Right.
it did react.
So, I mean, did they think that he stabbed her to death?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Okay.
Because inside the house, 2 guns are found in a small lockbox safe in the attic above the garage where they live on Westwood Street.
Okay.
And they could see that the dust and the insulation have been like disturbed around this box. And when they opened the safe, they noted, quote, the fresh smell of gunpowder.
Okay.
When they look through Ella's phone, they find over 70 recordings of Glenn being abusive or the 2 of them fighting. It's still not enough to issue an arrest warrant for
Sure.
Glenn.
Right.
What they have is all circumstantial at this point. And as far as the DNA, well, it's the end of 2019. And COVID is about to screw everybody over.
Yeah.
Halloween comes and goes. Thanksgiving comes and goes. Christmas comes and goes. And it's now 2020. And on January 24th, police get a 911 call to say that there's a creepy man trying to flirt with women and girls at the dog park. And when the police officers go and check it out, who do you think it is?
Mr. Glenn.
It's Glenn.
Yeah.
And when the Richmond police approach him after the girls identified Glenn as the creep, yeah, that's him. That's the one. He's by his car and he just drops to his knees. And when the officer asks him, what are you doing? Why are you down on your knees? He says, I'm a teacher. And he normally gets down on his knees with his students.
What?
Dude, you're teaching college English and
What?
grad school rhetoric. It's not circle time at daycare. Are you kidding me right now?
Yeah, we're talking about the guy who thinks he's the smartest guy in the room.
Exactly.
Wow.
Again, police don't arrest him, and they're still waiting on DNA tests to come back from this lab. But at this point, Glenn is fired from his job at Eastern Kentucky University.
Yeah.
But here's what Glenn's been up to in the months after Ella's disappearance. He went to Goodwill 3 different times to donate women's clothing and personal items. All Ella's. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Detective Friend is sorting through all the evidence they took from Glenn and Ella's home, and he finds these 70-plus messages and the journal entry where she's calling him a pathological liar and a psychopath and a narcissist. And finally, on April 24th, 2020, they call Glenn back into the police department, and this time, Glenn isn't filled with rhetoric. He's very combative. He's very confrontational. And Glenn says he was at the dog park at 6:15 the night Ella goes missing. But again, the surveillance footage says otherwise, and they
Right.
call him out on it. And Detective Friend plays the recordings of Glenn being hateful to Ella. He's like, dude, the jig is up.
Right.
Like, we are so far beyond you lying to us right now. And he pushes for Glenn to confess. He's like, for Alex's sake, for your son's sake, just confess. Just tell us where she
Right.
is. Tell us what you did. Tell us what happened.
Right.
He tells Glenn that they found Ella's blood in the trunk of his RAV4. Now, they don't have this information back yet. And Glenn says to him, quote, well, you know more than I do. I've never hurt anybody physically, end quote. That's what he says.
What does that mean?
Rhetoric.
Yeah.
That's what it means.
Yeah.
They put him in cuffs, and they tell him, you're under arrest for the murder of your wife. And he's charged with murder and tampering with physical evidence. Now, while Glenn is in Madison County Jail, employees there found a note in his cell on which he had written down 3 possible reasons for Ella's blood to be in his trunk. And also, while he's sitting in jail, Glenn has a conversation with another inmate the day after his arrest where he tells the other guy that he had searched online how to dispose of, quote, the body, end quote,
Jeez.
in acid.
Ugh.
The conversation
Wow.
is captured on jail surveillance.
The smartest guy in the room.
Smartest guy in the room.
Yep.
Now, at his arraignment, Glenn pleads not guilty, and his bail is $250,000 cash.
Wow.
4 days after Glenn is arrested, there are some people in Pulaski County, Kentucky, hunting for mushrooms, morel mushrooms. And morels are one of the most prized edible mushrooms in North America. They appear only in the spring, and they are highly sought after by chefs. And Pulaski County in Somerset, Kentucky is about 50 to 65 miles from Richmond, where Glenn and Ella lived. But 4 days after Glenn is arrested, while some folks are out hunting for morels, they discover a body, or what's left of one. It's mostly bones, and they're in a ditch, and they call the Pulaski County Sheriff. Now, forensic experts use dental records to positively ID that the remains are Ella Jackson. Her body is found about 9 miles from Glenn's brother's home. And when they pull his brother's phone records, they can see a text from his brother to his brother's son, to Glenn's nephew, saying that Uncle Glenn would likely be visiting them that night. This is the night that Ella goes missing.
Wow.
Now, after they determine that the bones are indeed Ella Jackson, Pulaski County Sheriff and the Richmond police go back to the place where Ella's body was found to look for more evidence, and they turned over some clothing. Then on October 8th, 2020, a hearing was held to reduce Glenn's bond. Judge James D. Ishmael Jr. at the Madison County Circuit Court reduced the bond to $150,000 cash.
Why'd they do that?
Because he's a first-time offender. I'm going to talk about that in just a little bit.
Okay.
But Glenn posts bond, and he's released on October 23rd, 2020, to home incarceration. He bonds out, and they're like, well, we'll only charge you $150,000 to bond out, right? Not $250,000.
Right.
But we're going to put you in home incarceration with an ankle monitor while you await trial. The judge granted house arrest and reduced the bond because of COVID-19 restrictions in the Madison County Detention Center. And it made it hard for Glenn to meet with his attorney, who was going to change from a public defender to a man named Thomas Lyons. And remember, this is when the world is shut down.
Sure.
And Glenn didn't have any prior criminal history, and he was a longtime local and a former professor at Eastern Kentucky University. And his attorney argued that he's not a flight risk. He's not going anywhere. So the judge said there were very strict conditions of the house arrest. He could only leave for attorney visits and doctor visits. He was to have no contact with his son Alex, no alcohol or drugs, and they were testing him randomly. And only his siblings were allowed in his home. Now, on the flip side of this, Ella's family and her ex-husband Jason Hans, they thought it was all BS, which I agree with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, with Alex's mom gone and his father on house arrest, Jason Hans and his wife Natalia take Alex in and raise him. And Jason basically said an ankle monitor isn't going to keep him from coming after his and Ella's family, Alex and Philip and Jason and his wife Natalia. But Glenn is going to have some bond violations during his house incarceration.
Oh, really? No surprise.
In 2021, he was accused of leaving his home without permission and wandering around Richmond, Kentucky, just wandering around town. Witnesses saw him taking photos of other people's homes and just chit-chatting with people. Then around February 11th, 2021, the judge added more restrictions to his house arrest. And because of COVID and the backlog of forensics, there were judges who recused themselves and other issues. Glenn is on house arrest now, awaiting trial for 6 years.
Oh, wow.
Because they're waiting for stuff to come back from the lab.
Sure.
Then a judge recuses himself. It's COVID. There's a huge backlog of everything. It's just a mess.
Wow.
Then just days before the trial was to begin, on February 2nd, 2026, Glenn Jackson entered an Alford plea. And an Alford plea allows a defendant to maintain innocence while acknowledging sufficient evidence exists for their conviction.
Okay. Oh, I've never heard of that.
An Alford plea. I'm going to talk about it here in just a little bit.
Okay.
But he pleaded to reduced charges of manslaughter, abuse of a corpse, and tampering with evidence.
Wow.
And the Commonwealth attorney, Jennifer Smith, thought it was preposterous. But for the sake of Alex, to keep from subjecting him to the trial of his father and reliving the death of his mother over and over again.
Yeah.
She agrees.
Okay.
On April 21st, 2026, he's sentenced, and Ella's family is there to give victim impact statements and courtroom testimony. Her family in the Ukraine, they give virtual statements. Alex gave a recorded statement. The son, who was 5, he's now he's like a tween now.
Yeah.
So he sends a recorded statement that says, quote, "She should have been here to watch me grow up. She should have been here for my childhood, my teenage years, my future," end quote.
Wow.
Glenn took all of that away from me. He took away her future, and he took away the future I should have had with her.
Man.
It's heartbreaking.
It is.
Then her ex-husband, Jason Hans, also spoke before the courtroom about how he was raising Alex since Glenn's arrest in 2020. Quote, "At bedtime, he'd ask for story after story about her as he went to sleep. After many weeks, I can no longer think of new stories to tell him," end quote.
Yeah, that's sad.
And after all of that, Glenn Jackson was given a sentence of 14 years with time served.
What?
So he's going to likely spend the next 8 years in Kentucky, incarcerated in a Kentucky prison.
Oh, my God.
And the time served is just part of the Kentucky statute. It wasn't something the judge decided.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is in Kentucky.
Wow.
And here's what Detective Friend believes actually happened. He believes that around 6:15 p.m. on October 20th, 2019, Glenn murdered his wife, Ella. And he believes this is the time because as part of the 233 pieces of evidence the Richmond police had, one of them was her Fitbit. And it showed a spike in her heart rate right before 6:15. And then nothing. So she either took off her Fitbit or her heart stopped beating.
Wow.
And at 6:15, Glenn said he was at the dog park, but the surveillance said otherwise.
Right.
What I haven't told you is that during all this time, while he's on house arrest and they're waiting for things to come back,
Right.
Ella's body is being held as evidence. They couldn't release it to the family for burial or to get some closure until after the sentencing and the resolution of the criminal case. So for over 6 years, her family's been waiting. And then Glenn cops the Alford plea, which, by the way, is named for Henry Alford for the 1970 U.S. Supreme Court case, North Carolina versus Alford.
Okay.
And it was decided by the Supreme Court that, okay, you can say, I can see that there's enough evidence against me to convict me, but I am innocent. So they dropped the charges to something lesser. His was from murder to manslaughter.
What a stupid ruling.
Yeah.
God.
Glenn Jackson still has to go back to Madison County Court for restitution. Jason Hans and the administrator of Ella's estate is requesting $221,942.28 in restitution from Glenn.
Wow.
And according to Jason Hans, quote, "I would never describe what happened in this case as justice. Our experience with the legal system has repeatedly left us, Ella's family, feeling victimized all over again. Not because we expect unmitigated vengeance or an eye for an eye, but because thus far it has felt as though Mr. Jackson's comfort, convenience, and liberty have been valued more than Ella's life."
Wow.
To which I say, hear, hear, I agree.
Yeah.
My heart goes out to Ella's family and her son and Philip and Alex. According to the Dateline episode, Alex is thriving with his new parents, Jason and Natalia. Also, I think Alex has changed his last name from Jackson to Hans.
Oh.
And this really has to stick in Glenn's craw.
Oh, yeah.
But I love it.
Yeah.
But that is the story of Ella Jackson and the man who says he didn't kill her, but he knows there's enough evidence to prove it. And that's all I have to say about that.
Okay, my take on this, the only thing that I'm thinking of is the fact that, this guy's going to get out soon. And if I were Jason, I would be a little concerned.
Yeah.
Because the guy's he's a reprobate.
Hopefully he gets out and he just slinks back to Ohio or whatever hole he crawled out of, and he leaves Alex alone. I think that is everybody's greatest fear.
Yeah.
Because he's the biological dad. But, I mean, he's been adopted now, and he's very happy, and he's thriving, and they live here in Lexington, and Jason's still a professor at the University of Kentucky, and...
Wow.
I mean, they feel like Alex is like a little miracle for them.
Sure. That's the bright side of this whole thing.
And honestly, I think if Ella could pick what she wanted to happen to Alex, that would be it.
Yeah.
I think she would want him to be with Jason. I mean, they
course.
were such good friends. They just weren't very good being married.
Right.
So, but they were great friends. And, the fact that he steps up to do this is pretty incredible. It really is. So hats off to him as well.
Good guy. All right, well, let's move from that and do a little bless your heart.
Well, bless your heart.
All right, number one. I don't think so.
Okay.
A trespassing suspect, given the opportunity to post $250 bail, tried to pay with 4 counterfeit $100 bills, telling the judge he could keep the change, according to South Carolina police. Chesterfield County Magistrate John Davis declined the offer before noticing the color of the bills looked off, reports the Smoking Gun.
Oh.
According to Monday's police report, the judge flipped the bills over and saw Chinese characters printed on the back.
Just going to print that off on the old Lexmark.
That's it. All right, number two.
Number 2.
Say cheese. Maryland investigators didn't have to squint at a grainy footage to ID this bank robbery suspect.
Okay.
He apparently stared right into the camera, then later walked into a police station. Authorities in Prince George's County say 52-year-old Kevin Hitch of Upper Marlboro entered a Truist Bank in Forestville on May 18th, passed a note to the teller demanding money, and left with an undisclosed amount of cash, per Fox 5.
Okay.
There were no reported injuries. So I guess he just basically went, you know what?
I'm just going to turn myself in because I looked straight into the camera.
Exactly.
Idiot.
I know.
Bless his heart.
Yeah. All right, number 3, and finally.
And finally,
I thought you had it.
well, this sounds like us.
2 teenagers mistakenly left a knapsack containing marijuana and cashed at a donation area outside a New Zealand charity shop, then returned in a panic to retrieve the bag, police said. Monday, it was per the AP.
Okay.
A volunteer at the store noticed a pungent aroma before opening the knapsack and finding plastic bags of marijuana amounting to 43.2 grams, 1.5 ounces, and $3,700 New Zealand dollars. It's about $2,200 in banknotes.
Okay.
New Zealand police said in a statement, using marijuana recreationally and selling the drug are illegal in New Zealand.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they were busted. What are you going to do?
Poor guys.
Yeah, I know. Oops, I gave you the wrong
Don't
bag.
keep your weed in a knapsack.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't keep your weed in a knapsack.
Sorry.
Well, if you have a bless your heart, or you know somebody's heart who needs blessing, all you got to do is go to hitchtohomicide.com. When you get there, there's a pull-down menu, and while you're there, you can also tell us about your brush with true crime, or suggest a case.
Please do.
It's my amazing husband out there.
That's my beautiful bride in a booth.
Join us next time on Hitch to Homicide.
Bye, y'all.